Is that really?
Yeah.
You got another?
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that. The guy's a creepy looking dude.
Yes. But,
I think he might be he's probably a
I think the camera's rolling.
oh, wow. You know where we are?
We're in your camper.
Again, 2021, back at Ramblewoods.
Did we name this?
It's the Wandering Stave.
The Wandering Stave.
The Wandering Stave.
Which has it's like a whiskey cask,
Correct.
right? As an element of the cask.
Yes.
All right. That wasn't the name I wanted.
No, we tried, but it wasn't going to go through.
Oh, God.
Didn't
it was
even
like
get a chance.
It was like the country cruiser.
It was like the country
But
cruise.
not really. The pronunciation was a
Slightly
bit
different. Slightly different.
Yeah. So in our last release, I think if the sequence comes out correctly, we talked about that the bar was open and we were going to start doing guests more.
Correct.
Yeah, so we're up at Ramblewood.
And we have a couple guests.
Yeah, for a fishing and camping week. And, you know, we've talked about the paintball team before. We got a couple of the
Players.
teammates from the team, right? So on your left,
I've
there's...
got formerly known as Big Red.
Well, not formerly known. Formerly Big Red.
Formerly Big Red.
Well, how would that really go? This is Big Red, but as Mary said earlier, but what happened to the red?
Yeah.
it turned white.
Yeah.
If you could have rolled the clock back 20 years, it would be Big Red.
Yes.
Yeah.
With long hair.
Long hair,
Long
Big Red.
golden mane, red hair.
Yeah.
Not so much of a beard.
Yep.
A little bit like maybe
Had a goatee for a while.
had a goatee.
I remember we were in the bunkhouse at EMR, and I think this is how the story goes.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I know what story you're telling.
And you were climbing out of some bunk in the bunk room, and I just saw you. And I said, hey, Brian, anybody ever called you Big Red before? And I think you were like,
Nope.
nope. And I was like, well, that's your name. You're Big Red.
Indeed.
Yeah. That was crazy that nobody had played that on you before.
I actually
So-
thought you were going to go with the one where we met him.
Oh.
Well, I guess I can't beat him. I might as well join him.
Yeah. We're going to drink all night right here. You guys can sleep if you want to. Yeah, lots of stories, but that's where your name came from. Now, the fella on my right probably is like, oh, we're going to go where my
He's like,
name
please,
came
please
from
don't,
story.
Please don't. And he is a good name.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and was it? It might have been your buddy who threw you under the bus.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so you came to the paintball team on a different team. What that team was it? Like they hated women or something? I hate women. I hate women.
Something
IHW.
along those
Yeah,
lines. yes.
in harm's way was your
that's what
paintball
it was,
team
yeah.
before you started hanging around with the guys from pub crawling.
Correct. They were hanger-ons for a little while. They were
Yeah.
always lurking in the background.
Right.
Who are these guys?
You knew the crew.
Yep, we
From-
bought some of your used gear.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. That's right. And you met us through G-Man,
Who's somewhere.
right? He's probably nearby, and so you guys, you and your sidekick, your partner, probably not sidekick, your buddy.
Yep.
You know, we're really like we're taking this paintball thing sort of like real kind of serious, like tactical, and so you're giving yourself some call signs that were straight legit.
Yep.
Right, and then you're hanging out with us, like, hey, anybody ever called you Big Red? You're a maniac,
Yep.
right? Because of the way you danced.
If I were that lucky.
Yeah. I'm just a jerk, so we're just gonna go with MJ.
With a monument in a certain town.
Oh, Bennington. That's
Bennington,
true.
Vermont.
That's
If
right.
you go through there and
The
you see a
Bennington Memorial.
Robert Toole Memorial.
Can we go with obelisk? Can we say obelisk?
Obelisk?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was used as a graphic.
Yep, that's the foundation for MJ.
Yeah.
And so you guys came with, and I think you guys were just, it was, Pete's last name was his call sign, right?
Essentially.
Oh, no,
With
it
slight
wasn't.
variation,
It was,
right?
it was call sign it was, or Yoda, right?
He was
Yes.
Yoda.
Yeah, because it's similar to his last name.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
mine used to be similar. To
And
my
yours
last
was
name.
similar
Very
to your
similar,
last name.
very
So
similar.
right, so it was. So we suddenly had Yoda and Chronic, apply to be on the team. I think the question was asked at Blanding. I think one of you guys were walking with me onto the field and said, "So what's it take to, officially make this happen? Join you guys." And remember what I said?
I remember what you said. No.
What was the first criteria?
Well, tolerate us.
Well, yeah, there's
That
that. I
was
think
that
I
was a
said,
big one.
and maybe I was talking to Yoda, but I said, you got to get rid of all that ninja shit. You were mollied up and tactical and web belted and this and that, and we're like, yeah, no, we like to scream, we're over here, shoot at us, so we can know where we can shoot back at.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so back to your name, which I know you were hoping we forgot. Right. So when you it's almost like reminiscent of Animal House. Your Delphi name will be Flounder. Yeah. And why do I have to be Flounder? and I went with, and I gave Yodeler became Yoda's name.
Yep.
And that was easy. That went over well.
Yeah.
And I really
went over well with some people.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't try to modify yours. I think I initially said chronic.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. I was feeling generous that day. I don't know. But I said, chronic. And it was rejected by your friend.
Yeah, because
He complained.
yes.
Yeah, he did whine a little bit about Yodeler. And he threw you under the bus and said, how come his name doesn't change at all? And was it you, Big Red?
It was me.
It was you. I love how
Is that why you got us here?
No. This is all just coming clear right now.
perfect.
The world fits. Yeah. And so once Chronic became off the table, Big Red chimed in on the email thread and said, I have an idea. And that name stuck. Right?
So it
Like
did,
all
yes.
good names
Like
do.
all
Yes.
good names do. And so what's his paintball name, Mel?
I believe it deals with the digestive system. But chronic sort of rhyme with colonic.
Thanks to Big Red. Have you guys ever talked about this? Like, it's because of you.
There was a little conversation
That
years ago.
paintball
Yeah, it was one of those
But,
things.
you know
Sorry, it was a joke.
As everything is
And
with
it
this
could be
team.
worse.
Oh my
Well,
God.
maybe.
But
Yeah,
that was,
that's a tough one.
yeah, that was. I mean, he took it because there was no way he wasn't going to take it. I mean,
That
you're
was the
you're
deal.
not going to get out of it.
That
I don't
was-
know what you
yeah.
guys would have come up with next.
Yeah, we probably would have been worse.
I know what I got. I don't care. So, all right.
So we're here with Big Red, Colonic, Maniac, and MJ from Pub Crawling.
Yeah.
And we're a special camper episode up at Ramblewood.
Yep, big shout out Ramblewoods. Yet again,
Yep.
they've been really accommodating to us, and we've had maybe a dozen teammates up this week.
It's a big show, and I did the math earlier. We reserved, we have 9 campsites and 2 cabins.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So and it's been good. I mean, we've spent 2020 away. Obviously, we'll talk about. We've been very serious about this COVID, and obviously, all of us in here have had our 2 shots. We've been very comfortable making this decision to have us all get together for a week in June, and it has really panned out well. It has been rather spectacular.
It's good to see everybody. We know it's been years since we've seen some folks, but it just feels like it was just yesterday in many ways. It's slide right back into the
Correct.
relationship.
And let's just talk a little bit. Obviously, the 3 of us are all New Englanders, but this guy right here had probably the longest journey to come up from.
Chatty Matty thinks he's got the second longest journey.
Well,
Yeah, second
Chatty
longest.
Matty's- Yeah, but North Carolina. This guy came
coming
up
from North Carolina to spend a
1,100
week.
miles.
And to really put the icing on the cake, not only he drove all the way from North Carolina with his camper, he has worked every day during the normal days.
That's not icing on a cake.
Oh, sorry.
That's
a
like
bad cake.
That's icing not on the cake.
So icing
and it's
not
a
on the
stale cake.
The
It's
stale
no
cake.
good. It's
so
got
the stale
fuzzy
cake
shit
part about
growing
it
on
is
it.
he has worked.
Yep.
But he
Yep.
has done well for
Yep.
himself this week.
Yep.
I'll let him if he wants to say anything, but
Yep.
I'm just going to leave it at that. But I think he's in a happier place.
Definitely in a happy place.
So it's worked out rather well that he has been up here working.
All right, so we should figure out why we got these guys. It's good to see them, but there's no bottle on the table, and so that usually is a predictor that we're going to open a bottle.
Correct. And usually it would be that you would break out your phone, do the random generator, and walk around.
But we don't have the whiskey bar here.
Correct. Unless you plan on driving back and grabbing one, and then we'll do the show a little bit later.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
But I will say that we're going to probably do a few of these episodes up here, specifically related to the guys who are here.
Correct.
And we've talked about Yodeler is here, and we're going to get him back on camera. It's your first time on the show?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's your first time on the show?
Absolutely.
Now, we're here for a few more days, but you're leaving tomorrow, so we're doing an episode in your honor. But Big Red is here too, because Big Red is actually the fellow who's providing tonight's bottle,
Yes,
which is exciting.
it is exciting.
Now, do you know where this bottle's from, Malcolm?
This bottle, I believe, is from Scotland.
All Scotch is from Scotland.
But I believe this bottle
But
is.
this bottle, right,
Is correct.
is from the United Kingdom for sure, but
Yes.
Scotland we know as well. Right.
Yep.
So it's come over
Yeah.
the pond to be here with us.
Personally delivered to Big
Big
Red,
Red.
By Chatty Matty.
by Chatty
Chatty
Matty.
Matty.
Yeah.
Who we
I
miss.
have a bottle in the bar that he also brought me from that trip. It just hasn't been pulled yet.
Well,
But we know it's from your favorite distillery. Yeah.
and what is that favorite distillery?
Tullibardine.
Tullibardine. And I believe we've had one at the bar already on one of our shows. Didn't we have
Yeah,
one?
we pulled maybe the Burgundy.
Yeah, I know we've had one.
We pulled one of their, not novelty's not the right word, but one of their
Special.
caskings where
Yeah.
they put it in either to Madeira, sherry, or Burgundy. I think it was the Burgundy we pulled. But we're gonna take a look at this bottle of Tullibardine. Now, Malcolm, does this automatically ring true to you in any way? What does this automatically tell you?
Distillery.
No. What are the biggest words on here?
It's old. And it's malt. And it's a cask.
Oh my gosh. Colonic. What does that say?
Cask.
Oh my
Old
Lord.
malt cask.
Can somebody? Yeah, the crew gets it as usual. Everybody, the crew gets it before Malcolm.
Because he's got all the technology behind him. Yeah. So as I've been prompted, it's private release.
It's a private release. We know that because it's in the let's see, what is 6-sided?
Hexagon.
Hexagon.
It's in the hexagon. See, I stopped. Octagon I knew was 8 because that lady had 8 babies.
Yep.
The octomom. the old malt cask, which is a private release deal from Hunter Lang and Company. What they do is, we've talked about this,
Yep.
is they go around, grab a cask from distillers, taste it, and decide and and they
I
buy
like
it.
this.
And they're going to release it just as is, to go through no more processes at the distillery. They may do a few extra things to it, but they own the spirit. They take it back to their warehouse.
But in our defense, I will say, it does say in the biggest words, old malt cask.
It does say those words.
Which you say.
But most people would read it as the Old Malt Cask, which is the name of their private release series. Not Malcolm, who reads it Malt Cask Old. Those are the big words, Colin. I see the big words. Oh my God. That's what I'm working with. So this is a Tullibardine that was distilled in 1990. Big Red, where were you in 1990?
I would have been either in California or in Florida in the military.
In the Navy, right?
Yep.
Now, did you go right after high school?
About a year after high school.
A year after high school.
Thank you
Big
for your
Red.
service.
And how long were you in?
8 years.
8 years in the Navy. I don't know any. There's like different ranks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that traditional private corporal sergeant kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's all, seaman, first class, petty officer, third class, second class, first class, chief, all the way up.
Yeah. And the crew tries to get ahead of it. And one of the words you've said can be spelled in a different way.
Yes. It can be spelled with an A or with 2 A's.
You know, that's like a submarine.
Full of seamen.
So Big Red is in the Navy, and over in Scotland at the Tullibardine distillery, they're putting together this spirit. And it was bottled, 24 years. So, but they're aging at 23 because of the way the months in the calendar work. So it's a 23-year-old bottled in April of 2014. They only put together 319 bottles of this from that barrel. This is 50% alcohol. So that is suggestive of cask strength. But the problem with that suggestion is it's an even number, 50%. We would start to think about 50.4, 51.6, something like that, because we're not going to necessarily just come at that round number. So I wonder if they've sort of brought it to a high alcohol so that they have a little control over some of the flavor and smoothness without it being
go rampant.
be the dragon's breath.
Yeah.
Right? All right. See if we can quiz Malcolm on anything else that he's learned and forgotten. Big Red, what you've been to the Tullibardine distillery?
No, not been to the distillery. I've been
Now,
to
we went to
Dalwhinnie
Scotland
distillery.
together. Right. And you didn't go to that distillery?
Not to that one. I did go to Dalwhinnie.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you had been. Let's see. See, right here. I gotta take this little, it's like a Victorian neck piece. Will you try that on?
Yeah, that's exactly what this looks like. The Victorian neck piece.
All right, there's a lot of words on the back.
Yeah.
While you may be familiar with this malt, Big Red, it's interesting they put your name on here.
Yeah, it is.
We believe you will be able to acknowledge the magnification and amplification of nose, palate, and finish qualities as we have chosen to bottle in the old-fashioned and traditional style with no chill filtration. It's pretty impressive I can read these small words, right?
Actually, I am being pretty impressed.
Yeah, and I'm not like pausing between the words, right?
Must be the light up here.
Yeah. That means we offer the malt in its full and redulent glory. An excellent example of the distiller's art. Bottled at our preferred golden strength of 50% with no coloring added. We believe you will savor the whiskey's quality the moment you uncork the bottle. All right, that's all great. Didn't tell us a thing that we're looking for in terms of tasting notes. So let's just look up and see if they give us any tasting notes. Blah, blah, blah. No tasting notes. Let's see. We are pleased to offer this interesting variation on a theme from this particular cask and distillery, just one of many from our allotted old malt cask range. Our product range, distilled, matured. Holy shit. We see how much it costs.
It's a pretty pricey bottle.
Yeah. They didn't give it away.
No, they didn't give that one away.
Now, Chatty Matty would tell us when he came back from this trip, I think he was honeymoon, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Right, and he brought me a bottle too, but that he went over with just carry-on bags, but had to buy a suitcase in Scotland to fly home to put all the booze in.
Yes, because he's like that.
All right, so no tasting notes there. So we have some here. Nose, sweet vanilla with honey, citrus, peel, and spice. Palate, buttery and creamy with toffee, honey, peaches, and apricots.
Ooh.
Yeah. We've all eaten dinner, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I think we're about to have a little dessert. Finish, long and dry with a sweet hint of barley sugar. All right. Smell vanilla and honey and citrus. We're going to taste buttery and creamy toffee, honey, peaches, and apricots. And it's going to end long and dry with a sweet hint of barley. This is exciting. This sounds good.
Even the cameraman's licking his lips.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, we're going to uncork it. Now, when was Chatty Matty's wedding?
That was 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the Telltale UK stamp, purchased in another country. No import taxes paid on this baby. ATF. Listen, you put on the Carhartt hat, you start just throwing back. All right, mind if I uncork it, Brian?
Go right ahead.
Just gave away his real name, everybody. All right, this one was Mal likes to listen for the cork.
Ooh.
A little. Now, one of the things you and I like a Tullibardine, the Sovereign, the Pale
Yes.
Rider, very light, very faint, easy,
Did we
easy,
just
smooth.
polish? What did we just polish off?
We just Kempied a bottle of that the
Yes.
other night. I mean, not the whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing, it's gone, right?
It is gone.
It's gone. All right, here we go. 23-year-old Tullibardine, vanilla, toffee, peaches, apricots, long, dry, sweet barley.
How come you always like shortchange me? You always shortchange me.
Listen, you got bellyache?
Thank you.
Gosh, this is just the deal. This is exciting. The cork was faint. It's a very light,
Yeah, it's very
but it has some. What would you say? It's almost like a ginger ale.
Yep.
Yeah.
Golden tongues.
That's a good way to say it.
Yeah. It's yeah. All right.
Oh, it smells good.
All right.
really
So
good.
vanilla
sweet.
honey. I really thought I picked up on the honey.
I'm getting the honey, definitely.
Yeah. And the spice. I got the honey and the spice on the nose. Buttery and creamy, toffee,
I'm getting some of the
honey,
Yeah,
peaches, and
tasting it.
apricots.
and the
For
sweet
sure.
the sweet aftertaste. There's a little bit of sweet on the aftertaste.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Definitely got the toffee.
I got the peach. I got the
And
peach right on the front,
yeah.
right on the tongue. Not paying attention to other flavors. Got the peach. It's not this
yeah.
explosive, but it's a very subdued, calm peach. It's like an unsweetened beverage that would be
Yeah.
have some right.
It's very smooth.
It really is going.
Not so much heat.
No,
No.
this the
No,
little
feel
bit of
little
spice
coming
on
down.
the but
It's a good warmer.
it yeah. No
Second
fire
sip.
to breathe. What do you got?
Second sip, I'm feeling a little warmth coming
A
down.
little warmth. Wow, that really is pretty good.
You know, one of the things I like about the show and what we're doing is, you know, obviously we've spent a lot of time focusing on the whiskeys of the bitter end. But here's a whiskey not of the bitter end, but, you know, from a friend of the bitter end.
Correct.
And that this is really what the show is about. Trying the whiskeys that you'll probably never have an opportunity to try again. There was only 319 bottles of this. It was released in 2014. His wedding was 5 years ago, you
Roughly.
figure?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's 2000, what is that, 2016, he went on his honeymoon because they did delay a year.
Yeah, they did.
Yep. And so you'd be hard pressed to probably even find an unopened bottle of this. Never mind find one on the open market. So that's exciting.
Yeah, definitely can pick up fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really good. And in a different way from a couple others we've had on the show, but this has like a nice little like just like a good overall flavor throughout it.
There's not like an old West whiskey characteristic to
Especially at 50%.
Yeah. Raw. Didn't even make that had escaped me. Right. The strength of this is betrayed by the smoothness.
Yes.
Yeah.
The fruits probably calm that down a little. They're good.
Yeah. Something is
Now are we going to be able
something is calming.
to send our crew to get the ice, or how are we playing this?
There is some ice. Let's see. You know what? We
Get the ice?
said colonic.
Okay.
Colonic. There's a freezer over there. I didn't even think about the water or the ice. It really is.
It's so smooth. You almost don't
No.
need it.
Yeah.
I just want to try just to say, hey, look,
Yes,
this is
yeah.
what we did. Look at the size of these things. What'd you do? Sink the Titanic with those?
Listen, I robbed a vault, and it's ice, baby.
All right.
Are you gonna just do it?
Yeah.
There you go, buddy.
All right, cheers. Look at that. Iceberg right ahead. Okay, we'll take just a couple of seconds before this becomes water.
Two things. One, any of that heat, look to see if that's calmed down as it's cooled naturally, and to see if there are any other flavors that are brought out by the water. Right, the ice itself won't bring out flavor, but the water will. The ice will just cool it.
What I'll say is now I feel that lingering at the back has now been compressed.
Yeah.
It really shortened.
Yeah.
You know, I'm desperate to find this apricot flavor.
Yeah.
I feel like I almost found it, but I don't want to fabricate it. Apricot is one of my favorite.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
No, and I will say I've actually lost some of the fruitiness on the front side as
Yeah,
well.
the peach is gone. Mostly gone.
But I will say I think that it's actually brought the toffee out more.
Yeah. I'm getting a lot more toffee. Definitely.
You know, I pour them short at the beginning, Mal, in case we make a mistake with it. Right.
You pour them short for me because I drink too much.
So I'm gonna have another one of these later this evening, I suspect, without ice.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say neat is the way to go with
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the ice definitely helps in the sense that it will just make this a compressed drink, but I think you lose the complexity that you have when you pick it neat.
Let me say about ice. I feel like ice makes the drinking in general easier,
Yes.
right? And so when you're drinking without ice, you're really drinking the alcohol,
What it truly is.
what it really is. And so ice can be an enhancer, but it can also just be this facilitator.
Correct.
And I think one of the things that we learn about the scotches, and we talk about the flavors and the different profiles and the nose, the palate, and the finish and all that, is that we don't do a service without sort of exploring.
Correct.
You know, because again, we know how much it cost wherever I put the box, which we don't need to announce, but you know, you wouldn't want to not enjoy those features.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
And I think even like doing our season 2, there's probably maybe 3 or 4 where I would have said, hey, I think this was better with the ice. But I think for the most part, most of the scotches that we have drank on this show
Yep.
have been a lot better neat.
Yeah.
Or with some other accoutrement.
So I wasn't going to go there. I appreciate the olives, the cheese, and whatnot, or a pineapple or a strawberry, nice dark chocolate, right? Water, though, I think that they would say expands some of the flavors, but without any of the numbness of the ice.
Agreed.
Yeah. So again, drink the whiskey the way you like it. But if you're gonna lay out some greenbacks for a bottle, at least try it without. Get out of your comfort zone. Look for the flavors. If somebody had told me at one point in my life that you're gonna taste peach in this whiskey because of wood and aging only, not because of some infusion, right, of the fruit itself, I wouldn't have understood what they were talking about.
No, and I think if you wanted to put it and break it down and make it a little bit simpler, it's full of a lot. It's very tough to come to grips with that's what you're trying to taste, and sometimes you just really need to just let it do its thing and see if you can pick up. And if you can't, it's not the end of the world,
right?
But in the sense that at least you're allowing your palate to take in what it can be.
We generally miss a lot of the flavors that are noted, right? Because we're not insured for $1 million. Our olfactory, there are about 6 master blenders who are, their olfactory is insured for $1 million. I was listening to a program today about opera. And there was this idea about that the opera audience is getting old, the classical music audience is getting old. What are they going to do? And the reply was, they're not getting old. Folks who listen to classical, folks who listen to opera tend to be older. So it's always been an older crowd, except back in the day when it was the only music around. And so my point being, and we'll start to wind down with this idea that 20-year-old Colin wouldn't have been able or interested necessarily in trying to find that little hint of peach at the beginning of a drink, right? And so, which I appreciate because I have 23 and 20-year-old boys, and they're like, oh, that tastes gross, and I'm like, perfect. But you get to be of a certain age, and you start to appreciate and pay attention to something more. And so I think whether it's the classical music or the opera, lots of, exceptions to that rule. And there are exceptions to this rule too, but Scotch really seems to have settled in with that mid-age.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
It's when you look at it, most people who actually enjoy are people who have got a couple of years underneath their belt.
Right.
It's not a young man's game.
I think that's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say, I'd agree. I mean, if you're taking us back 20, 30 years, early paintball, there's no way. But we even, that's actually interesting, because actually as a team, we sort of went through that transition where we drank copious amounts of alcohol when it came in the can.
True story.
Some of you know.
But
These
then we
guys
then,
know.
but then we sort of we would get scaled down with the beer, but there would be a couple bottles there, and we would enjoy the bottles maybe more so than most people. But I think that this whole development, like you said, I think the older me and you have got, the more we've enjoyed a bottle.
I would say this, and the crew, as appears to regularly be, is ahead of the curve. That's a good crew. You notice how he's really taking some ownership.
It is. I mean, like I said, it really has been.
It's evolution,
his
right?
development has been quite
really
impressive.
We've devolved. He's evolved. He made a note that here we are drinking a 23-year-old whiskey that's been matured for much longer than most spirits you're going to buy at the liquor store. And here we are talking about that. There's a element of maturity attached to enjoying it. And so there's this relationship of maturation between us and the spirit. So
Only an age.
so we're gonna wind it down with Big Red and Colonic, or I guess as we sometimes can loosely translate as Big Gray and the Ass Man.
That's not on me.
That's not on you.
That's just the development. That's the maturity. That's the maturity.
That's the maturity.
More devolving.
So we're gonna wrap it down. We're on a camping and a fly fishing trip. So tonight's toast, nobody knows it, but is generally something you will say to your fly fishing buddy, maybe your fishing buddy, but fly fishing, as you head in different directions to fish the creek. As you say, good luck out there and keep your line tight.
Keep your line tight.
Line's tight.
That's not bad. That was pretty good.
This is a good one.
That was
you, gentlemen.
easy drinking. Easy.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks for sharing, Big
My
Red.
pleasure. I've been waiting to do that for many years.